Hello guys, today I'll be showing you how we can create availability group in a multi-subnet environment and how we can add a database, and then we will fail over this availability group using the wizard and the TSQL, and we will fail over and fail back both. So currently we have 3 SQL servers. They are installed in they are configured to be in a cluster, and we have already enabled the always on. So for example, if we check the IP addresses of each server, so the first IP is 192.168.1.1. This is the first subnet. The second subnet, the second SQL server is in the same subnet, and the third one is considered as a subnet in a disaster recovery site or on a different data center. So with this, now we will start to create the database in first instance. And also we will create the availability group. So we can create availability group with a simple name. Now we will see, because we have created the database just now, it needs a full backup. We will take a full backup. And we will, once we refresh, now it meets the requirement. Here we can see we have first instance already added. We will add the second instance, and then we will add the third instance. Then we will go for the endpoints. So keep in mind, if you are creating this availability group with the wizard option, this one, not with this one, so you will be given the option to create all the endpoints. But if you just create an availability group here, it will not create the endpoint. So in this case, you will not be able to add any secondary replica. First you have to create the endpoint manually, and then you will be able to add secondary replicas. Okay, so here we have to define the endpoint URLs. I will just modify the fully qualified domain name with the IPs. Okay, and I believe the IP is 1, so let me just double check that. Yes, correct. So the IPs are correct. You have to make sure the firewall will allow these ports, and then we have to go for the listener. We can create the listener here, or we can create it later. So there is a small difference. I will explain it to you later. So once we create this, So for example, AGLSN, and the port we have configured automatically. We have created this manually as 1433. So in this case, because this is a multi-subnet environment, we have to make sure we supply it with both the subnets a valid IP. Then next we need automatic seeding, and because we have the data and log files for all the installation, they are similar, that's why it will work fine. So let's verify all the configurations on all the replicas. Okay, might be there is something remaining. Okay, this is already there. So let me just revalidate it. Okay, great. It took a lot longer than expected. Anyways, so these are all the configurations, and so far so good. We'll just finish this wizard, and it will create the availability group, add database to the availability group, and create the listener. And obviously the most important point, it will synchronize the database to all the replicas. Okay, let's see the more details. This is configuring the endpoints on all the replicas. Okay, so now this is completed. Let's verify all the configurations. Database 1 is synchronized on the primary replica. Let's show the database. It's synchronized across all the replicas. Okay, it's synchronized on all of the 3 replicas. Now we will just update the availability group to be synchronous, and that's all. Now it will change from data loss to no data loss because all the replicas are now synchronous. Okay, so once we are working with multi-subnet, so we have to keep one important thing in mind. There are 2 parameters, register all provider IPs and HostRecordTTL. So these 2 are not optimally configured for most of the scenarios, so we have to change them. So we will get the resource. We have to use the listener name AGLSN to verify the register all IPs should be 0. so that the DNS should not register all the IPs with the listener name. AGLSN should be set to 0, and the second is HostTTL record. The default is 1200, so you can make it like 1 minute, like 60 seconds, or 300, for example, for 5 minutes or so. So for example, if we want 60 seconds, we will just make it 60 seconds. So the HostRecordTTL was 1200, and this was register all provider ISP IPs. Provider IPs were 1, so now we have changed it to 0. It won't take effect unless we restart the listener. So we'll just stop it and start it. Now these values are effective. Now I will show you how we can failover. So for example, if we want to failover to replica number 3, we'll just click on the replica, connect to it, and we can script it and we can finish it. So for example, if we want to finish it with the wizard, it will connect to the replica, which is going to be the primary one, and it will execute this command. So now this is primary and this is secondary, and meanwhile we can again use the same command on the secondary replica, which we want to make primary. We just have to execute this command. So if we want to make this replica as primary, we will execute this command, and the primary replica will be switched. So now we will switch back to primary replica. Thank you for watching. Ask me questions in the comments.